Stand by for the opening night.
The year was 1956, when, after World War II ended and international tempers cooled, the Australian government decided to change our culture forever, with television.
Good evening, and welcome to television.
In that year, only 5% of Melbourne and 1% of Sydney households owned a television and were able to view some of the very first broadcasts, including the 1956 Melbourne Olympics. Priced between 6 and 10 weeks of average pay, televisions were a luxury that took until 1966 for 95% of households to own one. After regional TV finally commenced in 1961, shows such as Graham Kennedy's In Melbourne Tonight, Bandstand, and later Skippy were able to entertain families night after night. Many of these shows were adapted from radio programs or led by radio royalty.
You'll find the stars of variety in radio. We'll all come on to your house via video.
Including the King himself. Recognition of these celebrities was first televised in 1967 when Bert Newton hosted the TV Week Logie Awards, named after British John Logie Baird, who demonstrated the first television system in 1929. From such humble beginnings, television technology continued to develop with colour TV. In 1969, the Australian government announced the change into colour planned for the early 70s.
When 1972 comes, but I hope it comes earlier, you're going to really wow them, in colour television.
The addition of colour would also enhance the content, including Aussie soap operas. Soapies started in 1961 with Australia's first hour-long drama, Consider Your Verdict, and was followed by shows such as Homicide, Bellbird, and The Sullivans.
After the success of homegrown shows in the 60s, the Australian government in 1972 continued to support and encourage the creation of local content, putting a broadcasting quota on all Australian TV stations to ensure that 50% of primetime content was locally produced. And from this local content came Australia's first primetime soap opera, Number 96, starting a post-Menzies liberalisation of Australian TV content, featuring for the first time frontal nudity, homosexuality, sex, and racism, changing primetime TV from dark police shows to over-the-top dramas.
I'm a homosexual. Look, Bev, I'm sorry.
From this point forward, Australia continued to flourish with local soap operas such as The Flying Doctors, The Sullivans, and Prisoner, which all continued for many years, telling the stories of everyday life in Australia, building our cultural identity, and inspiring the likes of current successful dramas such as Neighbours and Wentworth. On the 28th of February 1975, the televisions of Australia were broadcast in colour for the very first time, changing not only the appeal of television, but making programming more dynamic and vibrant, creating a whole new way to view sport, music, and drama. With this brought countless opportunities to expand on new programs, such as Countdown, the first Australian television show about music. Colour television brought to life music in Australia, as before people could only listen to music on AM radio, vinyl or cassette tapes. Never before had there been a way to not only hear new music, but to see it.
Hello, I'm Johnny Farnham and this is Countdown. The first edition for 1975 in glorious colour. Throughout the year we're going to bring you the most exciting people in Australia. Let's kick it off.
Countdown, with the help of Molly Meldrum, helped culturally revolutionise Australia, introducing not only new Australian content, but also airing video clips from around the world, creating a need and interest in international music and television in Australia.
By 1980, Australian TV had transitioned itself into a well-established platform. Commercial TV alone accounted for 33% of all advertising, which is a significant increase from 15% in 1970. Advancement in satellite technology meant that Australians could witness an increasing amount of world events in Australian history live on their television. 1981 saw the TV Logies televised for the first time. The 1984 and 88 Summer Olympic Games received extensive live coverage on Channel 10, as well as the Commonwealth Games, Princess Diana's wedding, Eurovision and the famous music event Live Aid. With the growing success of live broadcasting, Australian TV as a platform began expanding into a broader array of possibilities, such as Australia's first national telethon in 1984. The 80s saw the birth of many Australian staple TV shows, which comprise a considerable portion of the shows televised today.
Dad reckons there's only one show better than Hey Hey It's Saturday, and that's the best of Hey Hey It's Saturday.
Multiple genres of televised content were being made, making the Australian TV landscape more diverse than ever. Renowned Australian TV shows such as Hey Hey It's Saturday, Country Practice, and the iconic family staple Friday Night Footy were born, as well as Australia's longest-running TV dramas, Neighbours and Home and Away. Morning breakfast and current affairs shows were being introduced on all major channels, offering Australians an unprecedented variety of content and increasing the viewership competitiveness between broadcasting channels. The 1980s built the foundational steps which would eventually lead to TV we experience today. In the early 80s, Indigenous and children-focused channels were launched in an effort at providing inclusive content for a larger audience. 1989 began the aggregation of Australia's regional sectors into primary television distribution regions. Grouping TV stations together for larger regions allowed for commercialised licensing, meant that standardised TV could be delivered to larger and more regional areas.
Despite both Channel 7 and 10 being placed into receivership in the 1990s, the Australian community saw witness to a number of changes in the way that they were able to consume television. Regional TV expanded at a rapid rate, allowing viewers to have the same choices as their city counterparts. And in 1995, pay TV was introduced in Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, again expanding viewers' choices with the launch of Galaxy, followed by Austar and Foxtel. While American series such as The Simpsons, Oprah Winfrey Show and South Park proved that the United States programs retained strong appeal for local audiences, it was Australian television that accounted for the most prime-time viewing across the nation, with free-to-air TV delivering new, original, high-quality content in drama, comedy and children's entertainment. The nation witnessed the boost of Australian-made drama with shows such as Sea Change, All Saints and the long-running Blue Heelers, and saw the introduction to children's programs like Saturday Disney, Totally Wild and Cheese TV. Additionally, Australia produced a number of successful comedy programs including Good News Week, Full Frontal and Australia's Funniest Home Videos. Overall, Australian television made a substantial movement forward with the 1997 Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras being commercially televised for the first time. In the same year, full coverage of the funeral for Princess Diana was broadcast on all ABC and commercially free-to-air stations. Programs in the 1990s reflected the equality of Australian television and proved that when it's by Australians and about Australians, there's no competition.
After the survival of the horrific Y2K, Australian viewers witnessed the future of television, the digital shift. The new millennium kicked off with a marathon satellite telecast spanning all corners of the globe. Metropolitan, commercial and national stations began digital transmission in parallel with their existing analogue services in 2001, and by the end of the decade, all national channels had expanded the free-to-air experience by developing high-definition digital channels and multi-channel services. As pay TV grew, Freeview was launched to drive the take-up of digital television and promote the platform on which the free-to-air industry was delivered. With an increase of access to international broadcast, Australian viewers bear witness to the atrocities such as the September 11 attacks and the Boxing Day tsunami, with live coverage across most free-to-air networks. Adversely, Australia was also able to internationally broadcast the 2000 Summer Olympics from their own backyards in Sydney. With the new millennium also came a new trend in television: reality programs and game shows. With heavy influences from America and the United Kingdom, Australian viewers became spectators to shows such as The Weakest Link, Idol, and Big Brother. The noughties also saw local development within reality and game shows in Australia. After making numerous adaptations of international shows, Australia debuted their own productions, some of which include The Block, Spicks and Specks, Thank God You're Here, and Bondi Rescue. Despite this, Australians took the cake with having one of the most successful adaptations of the international cooking show franchise MasterChef. In 2008, Australian television develops towards reality-based drama with its debut of Underbelly. Along with reality TV and game shows, Australian television penetrated both the international comedy and late-night talk show industry with the reboot of Rove Live and the debut of the international hit comedy Kath and Kim in 2002. Largely, the noughties brought Australian television, high definition, digital transmission, and the demand for viewers to watch their fellow Australians in reality-based entertainment.
Skippy, Skippy, Skippy the bush kangaroo.
Neighbor, everybody needs good neighbor.
There is a jester, just a fool, as foolish as he can be. There's always a joker, that's the rule, but fate deals a hand and I see the joker is me.